Okay, back to the we left off yesterday. Okay, about you can't do things for idol worshipping. You're not allowed to. It's interesting, halacha. You're not allowed to say how beautiful a church building is, even if it's beautiful architecture. But you're not allowed to come along and say, look how beautiful this building is. Or you're not allowed to use it as a landmark. You can't say, okay, meet me on the corner where this and this church is, meet me there. So then, again, you're using the church as a landmark. The only type of Avodah Zarah that says in halacha you're allowed to mention is the ones mentioned in Torah. Like Pa'or, those things that the Torah explicitly mentions itself, so those you're allowed to mention. But otherwise, you can't use it, because then, very simple, you're giving it prominence, you're giving chshivus, you're giving importance to it, and that shouldn't be done. What happens if, what?
You could say, I'll meet you near the Pa'or.
Near the
Pa'or, if there was a place called,
the poskim, right, that because in it's mentioned in Torah, you could. This is the poskim, because the poskim ask, it says Shem Elkim Achem, it says Kiru, and Torah themselves mentions it. Hashem obviously keeps mitzvahs on it. So the poskim right that the Avodah Zarah that Torah mentions is not a problem.
So only the Bais Din about meetings?
B'chlal, Shem Elokim Acherim Leisas Kiru. It's forbidden to say names of Getchkes and idols. Yeah. If it's not the sanctuary of it. You shouldn't say any part of it is beautiful. So, for instance, this it's an interesting, very practical question, by the way. A lot of shuls that are not far from churches, lahavdil. So the church has a big parking lot, and the question is, can you rent the parking lot from them to be able to use it for your own parking? We have Chabad institutions here in the city that have that set up. So that's allowed because, number one, you're not renting the actual church. You're just renting a parking lot. Parking lot, there's no kedusha to it. And the question is, you're giving money you're supporting them, but the truth is you're gaining more than what you're supporting. So then those things are allowed. Okay, now what happens, I'll show you the extent of this din. What happens if you have a thorn in your foot, or money, you're walking in the street and money fell out of your pocket, and you want to bend down to pick it up, but you're in front of a church. So then, it's like the famous story with Hannah and her 7 sons.
Turn around.
Huh? So it looks like you're not allowed to bend down, because even nobody's around. What you should do is turn your back to it and then get it that way, or kick it away a little bit. It's not Kabbalah, it's a very simple thing. People don't give any chshivas to a church. Now there's a thing like this. Okay, we said, to what Timmy Dawei said. Okay, there's another interesting halacha that it's forbidden to give a gift. In the Torah, in the end of Parshas V'eschanan, it says Lo Sechonim. It speaks about the nations of the world, the Goyim, the 7 nations. Speaks about the 7 nations that you're going to conquer. And then the Torah says Lo Sechonim. What does Lo Sechonim mean? So Rashi brings down 2 interpretations. One is Le'itan Lam Chaniya Ba'aretz. You're not allowed to give him. It's a very important possibility. You're not allowed to give him any place in Eretz Yisrael. It's forbidden for a Jew, anybody, to give land to a guy in Eretz Yisrael. It's biblically forbidden. And another definition of Leis Sechonim, which both of them are brought down in halacha, is you're not allowed to give him what's called matnas chinam. You're not allowed to give a nation, from the 7 nations, you're not allowed to give a gift for no reason. Now, what happens if you know them, or you're going to gain something back from it? So then you would be allowed to, it says in halacha. Or, For Shalom, it's called Eva, not Shalom Bayis. Eva means you want to live comfortable terms with the Goyim, so then you would be allowed to. Because then it's not Matnas Chinam. You're doing it to get reciprocated from it. So then you would be allowed to. What?
What if you need to get something from the vending machine?
You want to buy something from the vending machine?
You want to give them money to buy something from the vending machine. Nothing else.
You want to buy a drink for yourself?
No, if it's not a Jewish person, they ask for change.
Oh, that you could do. Again, today in the world, the main issue, by the way, biblically, is the 7 nations. So then that's not a problem. In fact, it says in halacha, you're supposed to visit them, you're supposed to support. Mefarnes Aniya Akum, but the Ram brings it down. Mefarnes Aniya Akum, you're allowed to even support Goyish poor people. That's understood. If you have money to give and you have a choice to give it to a Jewish pauper or a non-Jewish pauper, I mean, obviously charity begins at home. So you give it, but it's allowed to, and it says you should, in fact, to visit their sick and so on and so forth. So those things are allowed because you need to live on good terms with them. Okay, next. So next in Shulchan Aruch is what's called Suras HaSurais, the forbidden images. The Torah says, "Leisasin iti alokei kesef alokei zov." You're not allowed to make foreign images with this. So the Chachamim means you're not allowed to make images of the sun, of the moon, or anything that people bow to, or like the 4 faces of the Merkava. You're not allowed to make images of the Malachim. You're not allowed to paint. I'll explain what this means. Chama levana kechavim. Even if it's not violet. In other words, like, let me explain it. And the world is make-a-line. You can't make a sculpture of the sun or the moon or anything that people would worship. You're now to make a sculpture of a person. Now, in that halacha, it's a very practical halacha, by the way. So poskim talk, that's only if you have a full body. If you just have a face, some people say if it's a face and half the body, you also shouldn't do it. But if it's just a face, then you'd be allowed to. I don't know how many of you are very observant, but if you ever go into the Rebbe's room, and the Rebbe was in his room day and night for years, if you notice on the molding of the ceiling, if you all notice on the molding of the ceiling, there's faces of a person, one after another. And it's bailet, it's also protruding. But the pearl over there, there was an interesting thing. They wanted to make, it was after Gimel Tammuz, they wanted to make a coin with a picture on it. Now the question is, you can make it in 2 ways. You can make bailet, that it protrudes out, or it's chotem, shakua, it goes in. So technically in halacha it's not allowed. But then there was a shaila, an interesting story that happened. There was a shaila, they wanted to make it, and they asked the Vaad Rabbonim Lubavitch to paskin about it. So the 3 Rabbonim that were talking about it, I happened to be one of the 3. We were talking, 2 elder Rabbonim and me, it was the young kid on the block. We were talking, and we went into the Rebbe's room, because we knew that in the Rebbe's room was like that, but we went actually special into the Rebbe's room middle of the day to look at the molding on the ceiling. And there's taka, if you next time you go and you look, and there's taka, an image of a person, boilet, that it's sticking out. Now the pearl, to poskim right, and there's a big controversy about this in halacha, but the question is, you know, in many places, the frum people, they don't let you take pictures of them. The mayor showed them many times. You try to take pictures, they would cover their face. Because the question was, are you allowed to take a picture of a person? So the real halacha is making a graven image of a person. But to take a picture, almost everybody in halacha permits it. But those guys go like this. You know, it's like you can't see me, but But then, yeah, anyway, you don't take a picture of the whole face. But as we know, in our circles, the Rebbe allowed pictures to be taken of him. And the minig olam is that pictures you could take. You have pictures of the sun and the moon. But they write, though, an interesting thing. In the Sidurim, there used to be a custom, they write by Tal and Geshem, they would draw the pictures of the mazolis, the constellations. So they write, in the city you shouldn't do it. It's in the city you shouldn't do it. There is a whole question about many shuls. It's not like it used to be. Years ago, most of the pareiches in front of the Aron Kodesh had pictures of lions on them. Okay? They're pictures of lions. So that was a whole halachic issue. Nowadays most people don't have different designs for it. But there's a lot of hatanim for that also. Because it wasn't a picture, it's actually... Now... Okay. So now the question is, what's with this stuff? And what's with that stuff? So... If anybody learns Shulchan Aruch, the Alter Rebbe brings it down also in Hilchos Tefillah. Any image or thing which is above the height of a person is not a problem to have. Now, we didn't do these. They were made from before. We didn't make them. But they're in a shul, so it says clearly in Alter Rebbe Shulchan Aruch and everywhere else, that if they're above the height of a person, that means when a person looks straight, he doesn't see those images. So then it's not, which is, by the way, for Amos, I think they make a cheshbon. Then it's not a shaila at all in halacha to have these images, or there's birds or whatever it is. What?
These ones are...
Huh? These ones. Yeah, but you're not facing that way, you're facing this way.
So if you have a Avodah Zarah in front of you, like a real statue of Avodah Zarah.
You know how to daven.
So I'm saying, what the difference between that and this is that's Avodah Zarah, and this is just a...
This is not Avodah Zarah. Nobody ever bowed down to these things. I hope they didn't.
Wasn't this made for like the concept of...
It was all made for beauty. It was not made to worship. They were made because it looks nice. That's why it's historical. We can't even take them off. Because they're historical. We have to keep on. Why did they make it historical? Because it looks nice. So they think. Huh? I know. So do I. But, what?
You have pictures of tzaddikim maybe behind the shul?
You're not allowed to have pictures of anything. You can't daven facing a picture of the sun or the moon either. You're not allowed to daven facing pictures of tzaddikim anywhere. Now, if they're behind you in the same room, the problem is many times you turn around while you're davening. So the bottom line is, in a shul, whether it's in the front of the shul, the back of the shul, the side of the shul, it's forbidden to have any pictures of any tzaddikim. Okay? And you basically, now in a side room, like when you come into the shul, there's a big picture of the Rebbe there, but that's not in the room of davening in. So that's not it. In fact, one of the reasons why what's called in Yiddish, God forbid, when somebody is sitting Shiva, you know, there's a custom, you cover the mirrors and you cover the pictures. What's the reason why you cover the pictures? The real reason, halacha, why you cover the pictures is because you have a minyan in the house and you can't daven facing pictures. That's the real reason. That's the real reason. There are other side reasons. But the main reason is because you're facing a picture when you're that, what?
What if you face a little bit to the side, you have a picture and you don't want to keep taking it
So if there's a picture, you face a different direction or off to the side, it's allowed. But we're not talking about that. I'm saying here we're talking about making images of people or things like that. Now, there's a lot of times you have these. I have one in my house that, you know, somebody gave me a long time ago. It's a picture. It's made out of, not clay, like paper mache. It's a bunch of rabbis sitting at a desk, learning with the, you know what I'm talking about? So you see it's like a face and part of the body. So what I did was, what you're supposed to do in halacha, I chipped one of the noses. Because once you chip it, then it's not a problem. I chipped them, they're all chipped. What? Dolls is not a graven image. This is made out of paper mache. It's solid. It's like a doll is not a problem, by the way. It talks about dolls in halacha. Huh?
Why?
Why? Yeah.
What would be the difference?
Huh? Because it's made. It's not made to last. It's not. It's made as a temporary thing. Instead. No, Poskim talk about dolls, by the way. They're all mounted it.
So I've been to Bais Din before where the Aron Kodesh had on the cover of it basically the 12 Shabbats with their symbols. Would that
That's not a problem.